But yeah, it's gonna get cold here
Uh,
at some point.
okay, well, it's going to get cold here. Down in maybe the 20s by the 20s
The 20s. You're not looking forward to
by the
that.
weekend. It's going to hit like
Well,
40s. That's why I was out and about. I was raking leaves before I came in here. And
that's what I need to do. I keep
what
telling myself I need to go rake leaves. And last year I didn't do it. And I had my front yard was the wind was strong enough where it blew the leaves all over. So the front yard was fine, but the backyard was a
It's
pain in the
great
butt.
when it blows them over into the neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have it fenced in, but
No, my front yard's open. You know, we lived in a
mhm,
subdivision, the front yard's open, so there's little leaves left from the tree that's out there, but the backyard's got quite a bit of leaves. I need to get out there and just like rake them up or burn them or something. But again, I just when I have the time to do it, I just kind of want to chill, you know, between family and working and drawing, you know. Hey, yeah, it's yeah. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's a nice day today. It's actually supposed to be in the 70s today. I haven't been outside yet.
that's
But
great. What state are you in, Joe? I forget.
Michigan,
Michigan. Okay.
yeah, go blue.
Yeah. Were you surprised by the elections or there in your state or
I was disappointed by the elections in my
were you?
state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not surprised because I mean I live in a blue state, you know.
Right.
So I just and I don't really talk a lot of politics because I don't know where people stand, and you know, like to
Right.
each their own. I don't get all dogmatic about stuff. I consider myself an independent, so I don't get on
Right.
either side of it, but I do have certain aspects and things I morally vote for and
Right.
economy and you know border control and all that kind of stuff. So I knew Michigan was going to go the way it went, but I
Were
was
you
disappointed.
surprised that that lady won again? That
I was
I
actually
mean,
I'll tell you that I wasn't surprised in the fact because we are a blue state and
yeah.
Democratic voters get out and they just vote, which you know it blows me away because Whitmer during the lockdown, you know, locked us all in our houses, and she had the
Yeah.
same issue that New York had with nursing homes. A ton of nursing
Right.
home or a ton of
Yeah.
elderly people died during
Yep.
COVID because of her mandates. And
Right.
then you know, she said she was going to take care of the roads. The roads are still shit here. They're absolutely garbage. Everything she said she was going to do for this state, she hasn't done. So the fact that she
But the
won,
schools were only locked down what 3 days?
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
that's what she
that's
said
what
or
she
something.
says. That's what she says. But we were locked down for fucking 2 years. You
What?
know, 2 years in this state, and the mask mandates were insane. And same thing with closing down businesses. There were so many businesses, small businesses, that were closed down here in Michigan, but McDonald's was still open.
Yeah.
You know,
Got to keep those
Wendy's was still
$15
open.
an hour jobs
Yeah, those were still
going. You know.
open, but like you know, good, solid small businesses. You know, there are a lot that caved in and crumbled. And even now in Michigan, with the economy supposedly good again, we have signs all over the places for people
Now
trying to hire.
hiring.
We
Yeah.
have, yeah, you know, so many people doing sign-on bonuses to try to get people to hire.
Same
Uh,
way here. Same
yeah,
way here. I worked
the
all
grocery
during
stores
2020.
are
Uh,
hardly stocked. You know, it's
the
just crazy.
benefit check that I could have, I really looking back on it, I probably didn't need to work that year. I mean, I would have earned a small fortune just staying home, but I worked every
Yeah,
day, and it took
yeah.
me 2 weeks to earn what I would have gotten in 1 week.
Yeah,
I
it
worked
was,
my butt off that year because we were shorthanded,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I celebrated 10 years at that company this year, and just
That's crazy. So yeah, I was you know, I was disappointed in a lot of ways with this state, but I've grown to live with disappointment when it comes to Michigan for
well,
most of
I
my
mean,
voting
I'm down
life.
in Arkansas, and it's been a blue dog Democrat state all my life. Uh, but and we gave you Clinton. Thank you very much, the Clintons.
Thank you.
But yes, thank you for that. I
Appreciate it.
got to shake his hand when I was in like high school,
No,
and I'm
it's
still
actually
trying to get
cool.
the slick Willie off. I don't know, maybe try WD-40 or something, but
Yeah, right.
he's a slick one, man. He said, if
Yeah, it
I
was.
win the governorship, I'll come back to your senior graduation. He won and he didn't show.
He's a true politician. You know,
He is a
he
true
knows what to
politician.
say
Anything
and
for a
how to
vote.
say it.
Tell your parents to vote for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
I picked up kids, Joe, and they've had like 12th grade level things given to like pre-K people on like global warming and other
oh
things.
no.
There's no way the pre-Ks can even read hardly, and they give them these things to take home to their parents.
Oh
And
yeah,
even
that's
in my day, they used to say, "Now make sure you take this home to your parents." And generally, kids listen and they do it.
what, and I'm not going to get too far into the political weeds with
Right,
this,
right, right.
but you know,
Because we're here to talk about it.
the proposals that were going around. The one thing that really upset me was the proposal 3 was the abortion proposal here in Michigan. And despite what anybody else thinks about that situation, I have my own thoughts on it, you know, obviously. But within that proposal, there is language that is underhandedly taking away rights of parents when it comes to their kids' ability to help them with gender or anything like that within the schools, you know. And again, I don't want to get too much into the details of everything because that's not what we're here. But just the
Right.
thing that just boggles my mind is the fact that people are so eager to pass a proposal that takes away the parents' rights when it comes to your children. That's
Right.
the thing that pisses me off the most. Being
You don't
a
need to know.
father,
You don't
yeah,
need to.
being a father, you know, like it's, you know, that's scary. That is absolutely scary when you think about that. So,
Oh, it is. And if you think about it, oh, by the way, before I forget, happy anniversary, the Marines. I think it's
mm,
247 years ago today.
wow,
In 1775, they on the 10th, they were first formed. So
nice.
Semper
Happy
Fi
birthday.
to you
That's
guys.
awesome.
And I also wanted to share this just before we really get started, Joe. Uh, this is Peter Palmatti's new T-shirt, and I
Mm,
have dropped the link at the very
retro.
beginning of the chat for Peter Palmatti's T-shirt, his character Retro, and you can get it in different colors and sizes. So go check that out. Peter Palmatti's going to do a wraparound cover for me. Joe.
Nice.
One of these days, I'm going to have to get you to do something, but I know you're a busy man.
I'm a busy man, but I'm always down to help out when I can. Let me see. I got to tweet out
Like trading
the
card
word
or
live.
something. Right now, I've been trying to get my characters developed and out there. I have my own little ash can, that's
Yeah.
that's going to be fulfilling here pretty soon. Past Master Dan in the
Hey,
house. Let's say hi, Watha and Hen. Of
right.
course, we saw Shadowhawk, Captain Finity, and beyond. Fanta is in the house. Phantasmagorical. We love Fanta. Tree Goblin. Good to see you, sir, all the way from the UK. I have a big
There we go.
UK. Probably 25 or about 30% of the people that watch me are in the UK.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it?
Hail the
But,
UK. Good to see you all.
it helps to stream every day and have a consistent time.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I do
We're
it
early
twice a
today,
week.
but I wanted to be accommodating with your time.
I appreciate that.
Because, like I say, my job's seasonal, so I can roll with the punches now. During the season, it's a little bit more tight.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we could get this in before I had to go pick up my daughter because once she's home, it's all bets
Right.
off until I guess I am streaming tonight. I might show
I
at 8,
understand.
but
Now, are you working on Reaper Destroyer pages?
I am.
Like on your streams?
I'm not doing them live on the streams.
Okay.
Because mostly, so the 2 shows I have are Appreciating Comic Book Art live on Tuesdays, and that's basically us just looking at me and my co-host Kayla and Sean when he's there. Shout out to Sean. That's just looking at old comic art that inspired me throughout the years. The artists that I love and stuff like that. Comics like we just flip through comics. We talk about comics. It's a fun show. And on Thursdays, I have on some guests, some creators, and then we just shoot the shit and talk about their campaigns as well. It's kind of a shill show, but I don't want to make it a straight shill show, so it's not like boring. You know,
Well,
like,
you're a '90s kid. You got caught up in that Image Rush
hell
and,
yeah.
other things like that, so I
Yes.
know that much about you. You like Jimmy
Yep.
Palmiotti and
Oh yeah.
Silvestri and some of
Yeah.
those guys,
Sylvester for
yeah.
sure.
So
Yeah.
tell me, get name drop some people you really were influences that you really
Oh,
dig on.
I mean, Sylvester, right off the bat, modern day he's one of my biggest influences right now.
Right.
And
Did you
probably
like his
has.
X-Men stuff or
Oh,
what was it?
I like this stuff. So I liked Uncanny X-Men and I liked his Wolverine work, but I didn't really get into Sylvester until he went to Image,
Till the
and
Image?
and
Yeah.
probably like later Cyberforce, and then
Mhm.
obviously the Darkness was when I kind of really started getting into Sylvester heavily. And once I did that, he kind of became the guy for me that really influenced me with a lot of line work and technique and stuff like that. And still is today. But before that, it was, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Dale Keown was a huge influence on me for a long time. Stephen Platt, there was moments where Stephen Platt really influenced my line work, how to
Right.
render.
Yeah.
Uh, Finch, I mean, you could go down the line and just grab the '90s guys, grab the late or the early, mid, late
Right.
'90s guys that were great back then. And somebody at some point had an influence on my art, which is why I think if you look at my style, so I've had so many people pull out the influences. They're like, "Oh, that looks like Silvestria. That looks like
Yeah.
Capullo. That looks
You
like
know what
Jim Lee." And I'm like,
you know what I
"Cool."
saw in some of your pages?
Hmm.
Michael Turner.
Turner too. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Turner was a big influence on me at one point as well. So I mean, again, I
Yeah,
was
I was
heavily influenced by the '90s and early 2000 artists that came out of that era, Brett Booth, and all those guys during that time. So
oh,
that's
and Dale Keown, huh?
yeah, Dale Keown. Yeah, it
Did
was
did he do the logo here, the Reaper part?
no. So
Because
Dale,
that
or
really looks like the
the
is
pit.
this a Pit homage cover?
It's yes, yep, that's a Pitt
Okay,
homage. So the guy
okay,
that did the logo for Pitt, Chance Wolf,
okay.
did the mock-up logo for Reaper Destroyer for me. Same thing with the Reaping first issue.
Yeah,
So
I knew yeah, you could just see that, yeah.
yeah, so I hit him up and he was excited to work with Dale again. And I told him, I was like, hey, I got this Pitt homage cover. I
Mhm.
really want you a part of it because I wanted to have everybody that jammed on that cover to be a part of this cover. Same thing with Joe Chiodo doing the colors.
Yeah, notice that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chihoto.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's the first time that all three of those guys have worked together on a piece since probably
Wow,
'93 with Pitt.
wow.
Yeah, and I thought it was pretty
This
badass. Dream
was
come true.
this female face is where I saw the Turner. A bit
Yes,
more
yes.
elongated than Turner would do, but I could see the influence of Turner there.
Yeah, absolutely. Turner, he influenced me quite a bit, and things. Same thing with Sylvester. And Turner came up through Top Cow with Sylvester and learned a lot of stuff,
Right. Mhm.
through that aspect. Turner had a little bit more of kind of an anime feel that he kind of snuck into his art later on, but there was definitely heavy influences when it comes to the ladies from
Yeah.
Turner, specifically in the face, the eyes, the
He had
lips.
beautiful he did beautiful ladies.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I still carry that through to today, and
Did you do
all
this
my
cover
people.
here? Did you do this cover?
No, that's Shelby Robertson right there. Just
Oh, that's Shelby stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
did a
Okay.
great job with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of my style, like I don't know where I got it from, but a lot of my faces are a little bit more elongated than some people do, and I just for some reason I like
Well,
drawing a
that's
little
what
bit
I said
longer of a
about that
face.
one, that it would seemed a little bit more elongated than what
Yep.
Turner, but I could still see. And when I go to identify artists, I look at their faces. That's why Spider-Man is so hard to tell because his face is covered up.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
did
and
this one here?
that is Dan Dahl. Mr. Booty
Okay,
Juice
Dan
himself did
Dahl.
this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did such a fantastic job.
Yeah. How it's got to be gratifying seeing the character that you created. And when did you create him, by the way?
I created Reaper Destroyer back in 2006. Was the very first time I drew him.
See, this here kind of screams Capullo to me.
Yeah, so this right here is Chauncey Blakey,
Uh-huh.
who was another guy I hired to do. So these are cards, and
Yeah.
yeah, he just knocked
Mhm.
it out of the park.
Ooh, if we get 60,000, something's going to be unlocked.
Yeah, if we get
Mhm.
60,000, we've got a jam
Yeah.
piece drawn by Leandro Algiron of my character and Sean Arendt's character Type 1, which was kind of an Ott and Stuff jam piece. If people remember Ott and Stuff, I know we haven't done that show in a while because Sean was out
Oh,
taking care of his sick mother, who unfortunately passed away last week. So again, shout out to the Arendt family and Sean with everything they're going through. But his
love
character
that.
and my character, yeah, was a character that Leandro drew as a jam piece, and I really wanted to make it a stretch goal. So that's going to be the 60K. It's going to be a mini print 60K if we get it. If we get to 60K,
This is the image that really launched you. I mean, on
this
your
was.
ash can. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the first piece that I started kind of using to advertise to people because I had that I penciled it up and had Jimmy Reyes ink it. Originally, I was going to have Jimmy be the inker on the book, and that didn't work out. But I had that piece, and when I first got it colored, which became the ash can cover, that's when I actually first started kind of showing the character, showing my art. You know, I had already been established a little bit with Ott and Stuff for a little while, and people knew I kind of had something coming. It was like, hey, I got a book coming, but I didn't really promoted my art very much up to that point. And the moment I did, it took off. I mean, people seem to really gravitate and like the design of the character, the look of the
Hmm.
character, the quality of everything. And then I just start sharing more and more art throughout the
Well,
time, and it started with
I
that
know
piece.
I know you've heard it before. The darkness,
Oh yeah.
Spawn, different. You can read different things into that. Batman. I mean, with the gargoyle, he's up there on the gargoyle, and you know,
Yep.
uh,
It's a character that pulls a lot of influence from the darker heroes, of the 90s when I grew up. Obviously, Batman had been way established before then, but
right,
Batman was definitely a part of it. Um, but I always just liked the dark, brooding characters. I like books that took place at night because you could use heavy inks and the colors were always cool. Spawn was a big influence on me. Character wise,
mhm,
design wise, the darkness was obviously another one too. Moon Knight, especially when David Finch did his run of Moon Knight in the mid
right,
2000s, I think it was,
right.
or whatever year that was just another giant influence on me. And it's funny too because I actually created Reaper Destroyer right before the new Moon Knight. I say new, but the new Moon Knight at the time with David Finch dropped. So it was almost like
Okay, in
at
the
the same
early
time.
2000s, then.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
it was one of those things where it just hit at the right moment because I had this character I just created. David came out with the Moon Knight run that really heavily influenced me too, with just style wise and everything. And I got really big into David Finch at that point because of the Moon Knight stuff. And then I knew I had this character that I was trying to develop. But I mean, I redesigned him 2 years ago because originally he had a trench coat. Originally, he was a different design. The face was always kind of the same, and he always kind of had the ripped up, ragged aspect to his character. But
right,
I redesigned him 2 years ago, knowing that I wanted to do this book, and I didn't think that the original story I had or the original get up I had him in served for the new way I wanted to take the story. Some of the stuff didn't make any sense, like the trench coat didn't make any sense anymore because uh, the power I kind of upgraded him to. I was like, if he goes into an actual fight, that trench coat or the trench coat is going to get disintegrated in like 2 minutes in an actual fight. So that took away like the design. So I ended up going with a cape, which is what I was really trying to keep away from because there's so many characters with hoods and capes that I
right.
don't want to be just another character that was a ripoff of already established characters. But it was Sean that kind of pushed me in the direction when I showed him the new design of the character. And he was just like, dude, fuck it. He's like, this is a badass character, badass design. He's like, don't worry what other people say. You've got a different, it's not a rip off of other characters story wise. Put it out there.
Hmm.
And so I did, and people seem to like it. And then, I've got a similarity to Spawn when it comes to like the big cape, but
Right.
it's
Are
that's
you a
just because
McFarlane? Are you a McFarlane fan?
I'm a McFarlane fan, and that's one
Yeah,
reason why McFarlane always drew cool capes.
yeah.
Even before Spawn, when the cape was explained why it was so big, he still drew massive capes. You look at that
It's
iconic Batman
it's
cover.
comic book logic.
Exactly. It looks
Yeah.
cool, and that's like
It looks cool. If it looks cool, now you can never translate that into the real world, but Who cares?
Right. Yeah. Who cares about the real world? I say that all the time. I say that all the
cares
time.
about the real
I'm like, who
world?
cares about the real world?
Yeah.
We're talking comic books. We're talking about
Now, see, you're
fantasy.
old enough to remember to go into a grocery store, a spinner rack.
Yeah, I was just old enough, or just
Yeah.
young enough, I guess you could say, where the spinner
You
racks were still around.
encountered, you could go in and just trip over one, you know?
Yeah,
Young people like your daughter can't anymore. And that's
that's
really
true.
sad.
That is
That's
true.
really sad.
Yeah,
Because
it does.
I've got some great memories of those spinner racks.
Oh, so do I.
And
I
that
mean,
seeing the big treasury, seeing the little digest.
yeah. When I was
Oh,
when I
good
was a kid,
stuff.
that was my first introduction to comics because you go to the grocery store and you'd have that spinner rack there, and it was
Mhm.
a books or these magazines with these colorful pictures. Just kind of you gravitated towards it as a kid. And you pick them up and you start reading them, and it was always the fun because I hated going to the grocery store when I was a kid because it was boring. There's nothing
Yeah.
there for me,
Or
but
the
I knew.
pharmacy. Yeah,
Or yeah,
pharmacy.
anywhere, yeah. I just hated it. But if I knew that there was a comic book
Yeah.
spinner rack or something there, it made it good because I just go there. My
20
mom would
minutes
shop, and
just to see what was on it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
thumb through everything.
yeah. I do
Yeah.
miss that. I will say that when I still saw spinner racks in grocery stores, in selected grocery stores, until probably about 2004 or 5 was the last time I saw an actual spinner rack.
Well,
And now
we
I don't
had
see them at all anymore.
Hastings, and I thought Hastings was at the time that it closed was nationwide. It was the largest
Okay.
comic book retailer, and I didn't know that. In fact, I've got a couple of key issues that are uh, from there that are the rare barcode because
Oh,
from
nice.
2000 on, the print run becomes about 1% of the run. Very rare indeed to find anything. And Hastings was the last thing I ever bought off a spinner rack, really, because when they first moved here, they had a
Gotcha.
spinner rack, and then they went to a larger setup later. But
Right.
like when uh I picked up the issue where Maxwell Lord is killed by Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
And I picked that one up, and then I picked up Captain America 14 that was like a retro golden age cover and modern, where he's squaring
Yeah.
off against Bucky as Winter Soldier. But in the
Nice.
background, it's like them when they were in the golden age, him and
Right.
Bucky. And that's kind of a key issue to get in barcode. Welcome, Vic King. I don't think you've met Joe before.
No,
Hey.
only on Twitter. How's it going, Joe?
Good. How you doing, man? Good to talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. Likewise.
What you got going on here?
Oh, I was just doing earlier on my stream. I was just doing some doodles. We did. This was the last one we were working on. Wonder Woman.
Nice. Like
What else did we do? We did.
A Green Lantern.
We did a Green Lantern.
Hell, Jordan.
Yeah.
Hal Jordan. Yeah. Now you got out of comics for a while, right, Joe? You were a musician.
Yeah. And so I tried to break into comics in my early 20s. I guess is when I first started really going to conventions and showing my work. And I had a lot of promise. I had a lot of good encouragement. Obviously, I created Reaper Destroyer, tried to get that out with the original preview book I made. But things in life happen. You're young, emotional, right? A really serious relationship at the time ended. My fiance that I was living with at the time, we split, and that just kind of sent life into a tailspin for a little while, right?
Now, Rick
with that.
Segler says you were in a boy.
Yeah, he wishes.
He wishes. Yeah.
During that point in my life, I gravitated to my friends, and growing up, we used to be in bands all the time when we were teenagers. They were always way more talented than I was as far as instrument, playing, and they never stopped. They just kept on doing music and pursuing bands, lifestyle or whatever when I was doing art. And during that time, I just kind of gravitated back to my friends and spent a lot of time with my friends. I was living on the couch of one of my friends at the time, and I'd always go down and listen to them jam in their practice sessions. And sometimes I'd join in, just messing around on the mic or whatever. And eventually that band broke up and they were looking for a new singer. And I, tried out and became the new singer. And then that took off and I did that for 10 years. So I just kind of never looked back and just lived that, rock and roll, sex, drugs lifestyle for quite a bit.
How
Good time,
how
though.
how did becoming a father change your life, Joe?
Oh,
A family
significantly.
man.
Yeah, quite a bit. I always had aspirations, obviously, to do the band as long as I could. And most of the time I was in the band, I was single. When I finally got with my future wife, we lived that lifestyle together for a little while, party
Mhm.
lifestyles, and it was great. But when we decided to get married, we were talking about wanting to have kids, and it was something that I wanted at the time. At this point, I was 35, so I'd been doing the band for almost 10 years, right around 10 years, and it just so happened that you know there's a certain lifestyle that goes along with what we did. It was just not
Right,
conducive for raising kids. That, and I didn't want to have a kid and then go on the road for a month,
right.
and not be there helping raise my daughter. So it just became one of those things where the band was kind of slowing down for various reasons, even though we were at the height of our popularity. And it just seemed like the time to take a break. So I ended up taking a break and I got married and ended up having my daughter about 10 months later after we got married. And the life changed, life's changed significantly when,
Forever.
yeah, forever. I mean, and I fell in love with my daughter the moment I saw her, and I never wanted to leave her side. It was a love I'd never felt before, up to that point. And it was at that point that I knew that the band thing just couldn't go on, you know. And so I just made the decision. I was like, like my guitarist at that time he had just started a family as well, and he was going through the exact same thing I was going through. And so we sat down and we're like, it's been a fun run, it's been great, but there's more important things in life right now. And that just kind of became it. It was just that simple. And at that point I was like, I can't just sit here and do nothing. Like I've always been the kind of person that I chase dreams. Like, I don't want to do just a 9 to 5 job life. Like there's things that I've always wanted to pursue. And the number one thing of that was drawing. I mean, I love drawing. That's been my favorite love since the time I could hold a pencil,
And
probably.
your wife was supportive of that, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one, because it kept me closer at home, or actually kept me at home all the time, instead of having to go away for a period of time where it's just her, and my daughter, like I could still be here and be part of everybody's life and then still work on a dream that could still be a prosperous dream, or something I could turn into a living. So I went instantly back to drawing, and I hadn't drawn in 10 years. uh, I like doodled here or there, I did all the art for the band, but a lot of that was in like Photoshop and things that I had learned, and just used my artistic abilities to put together cover albums and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So I had to go back and kind of learn how to draw again, because the first time I sat down to draw, man, did it suck. It was
Yeah.
horrible. Like I was like, oh my God, like I forgot how to draw. Like, and I was actually pretty discouraged for a little bit, because I was like, am I ever going to be able to figure out how to draw again?
It's about seeing it up here and being able to put it down to your fingertips, right?
Yeah.
And then on the paper.
Well,
Or,
it's like anything, muscle memory, right? It's like
right.
anything. You gotta be working at something to maintain it,
Yeah.
and I, again, like I was at a good spot when I was drawing when I quit, and when I tried to get back to it, I was just like back to square one, So I had to really buckle down and kind of relearn everything I had learned before, and then continuously work on it. And I did
The
that and got back up to speed actually fairly quickly after
a
that.
similar situation happened to Vic. He
Yeah.
he got out of comics for a while, but CG and kind of the whole movement kind of brought him back into it, and
Yeah.
brought me up to it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because so when I decided to get back into drawing, obviously my ambition at the time was like, I'm gonna get my portfolio together and I'm gonna submit it. I'm gonna try to get picked up by a company or independent company or whatever. I want to work in
Right.
the industry. And I'd been away from the comic industry in general for this whole 10 years. I think maybe I paid attention every once in a while, when I heard that Capullo was doing Batman. So maybe I'd stop in real quick and just see what that was all about. But I was never collecting comics. I was never paying attention to what was going on. And so I got back into looking at the industry, and all of a sudden I realized the comics weren't the same as they were when I had left. Like they were, I mean, we all know what comics were like in 2016, which was about the time I started paying attention again. And things had changed significantly to the point where I didn't recognize the industry. I didn't recognize the characters that I had so loved, just 10 years ago at the time. And things were kind of already heading in a weird direction at that point. So it was actually kind of discouraging at the moment, because I was like, what am I going to work for? Like it's where am I going to try to go? There's no sensibilities. I'm not lining up thought process of politically with a lot of these companies.
Right.
And I just happened to, I was friends with John Malin on Facebook, because I met Malin back in 2007 at a Chicago Comic-Con. And
because you're kind of a convention guy, aren't you?
Well, not really. Honestly, I'd only gone to a couple conventions, to be honest with you. At the time, it was something that I was just starting to get into. But I knew Sean Arrett, my co-host on Odd and Stuff, and he knew guys like John and Rob and all of them just from the message boards. So when we would hang out, he would introduce me to a lot of the guys. He introduced me to John back in 2007. I thought he was a really cool dude. I can't remember what he was working on at the time, but a friend requested him on, it was probably MySpace at the time. I don't know. And I found him later on Facebook, and friend requested him. And so I'd seen this post that he had posted one day with Graveyard Shift, and it was like $87,000 or something like that. I don't know when the campaign started. I didn't know anything about crowdfunding. I just saw this post and I was like, holy shit. So I kind of started paying attention to him a little bit more, following him on social media. I started following him on Twitter, and started to learn a little bit about what Comicsgate was, because obviously if you follow one of these guys during those times, that was like in the thick of the attacks, right? Like especially on Twitter. Like I would see him post something on Twitter, and I'd see like all these accounts attacking him and calling him like all racist and like all this kind of stuff, and saying he was part of a hate group. And I was like, what the hell is all this stuff? What is Comicsgate? So I had to actually look it up for myself and see what was going on. But doing that, I discovered that Ethan was doing Cyberfrog again.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about Ethan's career, because I've been out of comics for the longest time.
You were aware of Cyberfrog?
I was aware of Cyberfrog in the 90s. Yeah.
Okay.
I was aware of Cyberfrog in the 90s because it was one of those cool independent books that was on the shelf all the time when you go to the comic book store.
It was obscure. I'm really surprised.
Oh, was it? Okay, well, the local comic store in Kalamazoo carried it. So
when I say obscure, it's like low distribution.
Yeah. Well, fortunately they had it at my local comic book store, so I knew what it was, and I saw that it was coming back, and I was like, oh, cool. I was like, I always loved the character. I never really collected the books, but it was one of those books you'd always just kind of pick up and you'd flip through because it was a cool character, And I started following him, and then realized, found out he was part of Comicsgate, and started following his streams. And one thing led to another, where it was just kind of like you discover this community, and all of a sudden one day you're kind of part of the community. I had a YouTube show called Ott and Stuff with Sean, and we consider ourselves like Comicsgate friendly for a while. It wasn't one of those things where we wanted to just declare that we were Comicsgate, because I still didn't know too much about what it was or what it stood for. But we had most of the people we loved growing up, like Dan Fraga and Billy Tucci, and they were part of Comicsgate. So Art T. Bear, and we would have them on our shows. And when we had them on the shows, their fans would come and watch the shows. And a lot of times, a lot of those fans would stick around and they'd follow us, And at one point, we just kind of became a Comicsgate show, because that was our audience. And that's who we were having on guests, or Comicsgate. The chat was Comicsgate. We started having people saying they couldn't come on our show because we had too many Comicsgate people on our show. And so one day, Sean and I were just like, fuck it. I was like, we're Comicsgate. Like if we're already getting people saying they're not going to support us or come on our show because of Comicsgate, and that's just what we are.
How would you define Comicsgate now that you've been in it a while?
I mean, to me, Comicsgate has always been just a fan movement, respect to fans. The biggest thing I think is comics for one, comics are actually for everybody without a political motive or any kind of preaching or ideological driven messaging, you know.
Right.
And I just look at Comicsgate as the comics I grew up reading, because that's what I feel it was when I was a kid.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you had political stuff in comics going back to for whenever, but it wasn't like what was or is now, you know, where there's a definite message being pushed on the audience, you know. And the obviously the customer hate, I guess if you want to call it, you know, by the creators or by the companies, I thought was, you know, like I never understood why you would want to piss off people that are trying to give you money, you know, every month.
Well, do you like being characterized as a Nazi? Because you're white heterosexual male, clinging to your God and guns
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's another
your
thing
wife,
too.
and
Yep,
yeah.
yep, yep.
I
That's
mean,
another.
we're three dangerous guys here,
Oh
to
yeah.
society. Apparently, we're domestic terrorists. How
Oh,
crazy
I
is that?
know.
And like you said, we work during the pandemic, and we pay our taxes, and yet we're Joe the plumber all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm the worst, right? I'm a straight white Christian male. You know, like that's like that's the devil right there to some
That's
people.
the devil. in some venues, it is. Yeah.
You know what's funny to me is like, yes, Comicsgate aligns more with me politically as my views on things, but I gravitated more to Comicsgate as in the fact is customer driven. Let's create books that respects the customer and gives the customer what they want out of comic books. You know, that was the thing that excited me more than being like involved with a group of people with like mind thinking.
Right.
When I started seeing, you know, the books that were being produced and the talent that was around, I was like, you know, like this is where I want to be. Because I mean, you could have gone and done any independent book, because there are tons of independent creators out there doing it by themselves, or even have their own communities within the indie scene. But there was just there was a different feel when it came to Comicsgate. First off, Comicsgate was just fun, right? Streams were fun. There's a lot of big personalities in Comicsgate that just makes it fun to hang out. It's a very diverse community when you really get into it. And then on top of that, you throw in all the talent and the creators that actually have a love for what they're doing. And that was the biggest thing I noticed, is that there were people out there that were just putting their love into the book and putting the books out there. And it gave me more of a sense of fun comic book reading than the industry was doing at the time, which was all politically driven.
I mean, without it, what's your chances that on your campaign you get a Del
Oh,
Keown cover?
probably 0 to none.
I mean, it's a wonder that he even drew him out of Canada, because he's kind of reclusive.
Yeah, that's yeah. Thank God.
Although I know he's been kind of coming out of his shell lately. Hey, Mrs. Good stuff. Good to see you.
Howdy.
Now I have to go back to the campaign, Joe, because we're this is your baby, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is your baby. And it's got to be gratifying to see other artists draw your character.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Different interpretations of it. The campaign looks like it's rocking and rolling, 55,090. How has this changed your life, Joe? To see such support on your first campaign.
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit. It's one, it's extremely humbling that there would be people out there willing to give their hard-earned money to me to help produce, something that's a dream of mine. That in itself is just, dumbfounding sometimes, that I look at that campaign and see the money that's raised and see how it continues to get backed. And it's just, it's heartwarming, like there's a community out there. There's just people in general that want to help produce this book. And not just because they just want to help out. It's like, they believe in the book too. There's tons of people I get messages from all the time that love the character design, or can't wait to read it because it reminds them of the stuff that they don't get anymore from like the 90s books, and that's
Right.
one of the reasons why I kind of
Yeah.
designed and did my book in such a way, was to kind of get
I have
kick
your
into that
logo
crowd.
on my refrigerator. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
it changed a lot, like I remember launch night was just insane on Bancroft's channel. We were funded in seconds, and we raised almost $18,000 on his show, and my wife was watching. So I was down here, obviously, and my wife was watching upstairs on her phone, and she would just text me because it was just, we didn't expect it, and that show ended, and we went on with Jeremy, Lord Crackhead, afterwards, and my wife actually came down. My daughter was sleeping, so she came down here and actually sat in the corner of my studio, and we were just drinking together and just taking in the moment. She didn't want to be on screen or anything, but it was really cool just to see all the hard work and everything that I've been telling her, because I've been telling her for a long time. I was like, babe, if we can produce something really good, if we can get a following, this might be something that could be special. Who knows, in the future, is something that maybe I can make a living off of,
Right.
And to have that night go off the way it did and experience that with her was definitely something special. And then just to see how it's progressed in a 6-month period of time to now has been pretty awesome too.
And what's your wife think about it now? Is her mind blown?
Yeah. I mean, I think she's gotten kind of used to it now. Oddly enough, because it is what
You're
it is.
Professional, honey.
Yeah, but at the time, it was just like, she always was a big supporter of mine. She knew that, I had a talent and an ability to do what I was doing, but it was good to kind of show her that it could be something that you could do you make a living on, And I've been more successful at this than I was at the band, and I did the band for 10 years, and we toured all over the place and had, thousands of fans and sold so many albums that we made. But like, this is the most successful thing I've done. It's been an indie
How long
thing.
did it after you first pick up a pencil to get back into the muscle memory to get back to drawing on a regular basis? How long did it kind of take you to shake off the cobwebs?
Probably a few months.
Really?
Probably a few months, and then
drawing
I started
every day.
Yeah, I would draw every day for a couple months. When I get home from work, because a lot of times I get home from work and my wife wouldn't get home from work for a couple hours, so I just go home and I just sit there at my dining room table and just draw and just work on whatever, and do a lot of research at the time. Get back into the how-tos and try to refresh my mind for all the techniques and things I had forgotten. And once the stuff started to click again, because I had done so much earlier in my life, that once it kind of clicked again, I got back rolling, and I got in the groove. I started steadily seeing that improvement as the year went on, and probably the next year I was up and running again, and just kind of kept improving to the point where, I was actually pleasantly surprised that I got my skill back as quickly as it did. Because, like I said, when I first started drawing again, I thought I was so depressed because I was like, I forgot how to draw. I was like, I'm never going to
says Reaper Destroyer was the thing that made me look into CG more, and Joe was always there for advice.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
And I told him the same thing, Rick, early on in the chat, that it's going to be big when it hits after seeing the ash can.
Yeah. It's not, I try to tell Rick, like, it's not that I doubted him. I want to temper expectations for myself, because it was one thing to have other people say like, hey, this book is going to do really good. And like, people would throw out numbers of what the campaign was going to do. And, and really just kind of hype up the excitement. And I would be awesome. I'd be like, yeah, that's great. But in my mind, I was like, I don't want to get sucked into that, because if it doesn't do what you're saying it's going to do, I'm going to be extremely disappointed and heartbroken, So I was like, I just had to carry the mentality that it wasn't going to do well, or it was just going to be so that I wouldn't get disappointed. Even to the point on launch night, I was talking to Bancroft before we went live, and he asked me how I thought everything was going to go. And I said, I was like, I don't know, dude. I was like, hope people just back it. I hope I can.
What did you earn in that first night? Do you remember? In the first 24 hours?
In the first 24 hours, 25,000.
Wow.
I think. Yeah.
The
first 24. Yeah, the first 24
go to McDonald's and do that.
Yeah. It's with Bancroft, you know, he had, and I told him, I was like, I hope it just gets funded. And I was like, that's my just hope, you know, like that's all I'm allowing myself to hope for.
Right. What
And
was your stretch goal? Do you remember?
uh the
I mean,
funding
not your
goal,
stretch goal, but what
yeah,
was your goal for funding?
five
Do you
thousand,
5,000?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
5,000. And he told me, he's like, oh dude, he's like, we'll get that tonight. He's like, there's no doubt in my mind we'll get that tonight.
But
And
there was doubt in your mind.
yeah, because I didn't know, you know, like
Yeah.
it's the same thing when I was doing music. Even though we had fans and people that loved our music and were waiting for us to come out with new stuff, every time we would go get ready to put out a new album, you just didn't know, you know, how anybody would
Wow.
react to it until they actually did, you know. So once we actually got stuff out and you saw the reaction, then you could kind of relax and start to enjoy it. It was the
Rich said
same,
it was reached that 5K in 10 minutes.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. We
Yeah.
If you go back and if you go back and look up on Michael Bancroft's YouTube, and you can go to the
Mhm.
campaign launch playlist or whatever and find the Reaper Destroyer launch night, and just watch that for a second. You'll see how fast that thing funded and just how
Yeah.
insane it was.
Well, I remember when Wreck Planet launched, and it was just whoom, you know, within. I mean, it's just amazing how that thing launched like a rocket, and before you know it, in 30 minutes, he probably had 100,000 or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
that was insane. Yeah,
It's just an insane. You're watching it, and you're watching it just go up and up and up, and you're like, this is crazy, man. This is crazy.
I was completely blown away because, you know, once I went live and I started seeing the numbers, you know, the backer numbers pour into the live chat with Bancroft, I found myself to be able to actually relax, you know, because I think the first number I saw was like 7 that popped in the chat, and then the next number I saw that was 37, you know, and then, you know, a couple seconds later I saw numbers in the 50s and then the 60s and the 70s, and I was like, holy shit, we sold out of the first 100 metal trading cards that we had up for the first 100 backers. That got backed in like seconds. It was just
Looking
like
back on it, would you have
crazy.
put something else on the campaign, like more of something that if you'd known what it was going to do, or would you do anything differently?
The only thing I don't think I would have done anything different when it came to the actual campaign, as far as like stretch goals and things we had there, because I think the metal trading card was really big amongst people. There were a lot of people trying to get in with the first 100 to get that card. And also the number one, I tried to make it fun for the number one backer. And I said, whoever got the number one backer would get a commission from me that I would work on throughout the year to make it the absolute best I could make it for them. And if it was a creator, they could use it for a cover, do whatever they wanted with it. It was theirs, you know? So I tried to make it fun for the number one backer so people would want to get in there and get it. And everything went great. The only thing I would have done different, and this wasn't necessarily, it was kind of out of my control, but I had ended up firing my colorist a couple months before I was going to launch because I just wasn't getting work from him.
Yeah,
Was the biggest thing. Like, you know, I was always like, hey, you got these pages done yet? Because I needed those pages ready to launch. I was like, all I need is this many pages so I can have it launched, and then we can work on the rest of the book as we're going throughout
3
the
or
year.
4 pages, and you can launch a campaign.
And it was always just like, oh, I'll have it next week. I'll have it next week, you know. So eventually I fired him, and I hired Kyle, and he knocked out the pages for me, but he didn't have enough time to get the cover colored. And so if I could do it again, I would have done things differently, as far as like maybe fired the guy earlier so I could have more time to work with Kyle to get the, you know, more stuff up and finished for the campaign. Ultimately, it didn't hurt me.
It's nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude,
Putting together a campaign.
The moment I put together the mailing list and put that out there, and then all of a sudden it was real, you know, like the mailing list was out, and now it's real. You're getting signups and all that stuff. And then I actually put a date on the launch. Now all of a sudden it's just like,
but you'd already kind of softened it up with the ash can, hadn't you?
That's true. I released two versions of the ash can late last year and then earlier this year before I did the launch. So that was kind of cool because I got that out there, and that helped quite a bit.
Good response.
it was a great response. Like I had a lot of people backing or buying the ash can, and then I had a lot of good reviews. You know, people were putting them up on the social media that they had gotten it. I was getting people DMing me about how much they enjoyed it, and that they were going to spread the word and tell people about it and tell people about the campaign. So the ash can helped out tremendously when it came to helping the hype of the campaign.
Right.
I don't know if it would have been as big without putting that ash can out. Like I know that there was a lot of excitement generated, and you know, shout out to you know, guys like Rick Saylor and Amanda B and Jeremy Lord Crackhead and Leandro Algerian for going out and helping promote, you know, and helping me kind of push the word.
Now, if you like Amanda B, she's going to be on with me Saturday.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, she's awesome. Love
she's
Amanda
awesome.
B.
Yeah. She's a quick talker, man. She's from Maine. She's one of those Maine girls.
I gotta get her on my show more. She's hardly been on my show. Like I've invited her on a ton of times, and I just stopped inviting her because she never comes on. Sorry, I still love you, Amanda.
Well, the big difference between you and me is that I'm single and you're married, so I can whisper sweet nothings in her ear.
And that must be it.
And lull her on here. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
but that'll be on the Rex X and Apex show. That'll be 11 o'clock Central, 12 noon Saturday, and then we're gonna have a belated birthday bash because my internet was down during my birthday. We've got another hen from the chat, and we're just gonna have a good drink fest. You're invited to, you know, come by. But you're kind of like Andy Smith. I call him Taxi Man because he always is ferreting around his daughter. I don't know what they call. You know, he's like, I gotta go. I gotta end the stream because I gotta go take my daughter to school.
Yep, I was gonna say when you got kids, your schedule is kind of
I know it
limited. I guess you could say. You know, it's the same thing. Like I would love to stay up really late and jump on with some of the guys late at night, but like a lot of times I can't because I have to go to bed at some point.
You get more work done the way you're doing it.
Right. I hope so.
Yeah.
It's going along pretty good too. I'm aiming to get this book out in July, and I think it's going pretty well with the drawing. Doing a lot of layouts right now.
Now, how big is the book, Joe?
The book is going to be 32 pages, and hopefully more when it's all said and done, because I am the writer along with Mark Polton, but it's my book. So if I want to extend scenes or do double page spreads for whatever, I can do
one of his and John Malin, right? Their project Shadow Band. What do you think about this shadow banding going on?
Oh, it's insane.
I mean,
I don't know really what to think
the
about
ones that were shadow banned are newer projects, not like yours that have been out or Uncle E's or some of the others. It seems like newer projects.
Yeah, but then again, I heard just today that Rainbow the Brute has been shadow banned.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't look it up for myself, but I think I saw Bancroft or something talking about it. No, it's just crazy. I don't know really what it is. Right now, all we can do is speculate.
Project?
What if it happened to mine?
To your project?
I mean, I would be upset about it, but there's nothing I could do.
What if you're funding? You're trying to get it funded. That could prevent a person from getting funded.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get it funded, that would absolutely suck. You know, and that's, you know, I mean, as long as you have the link and you can share it, and at least you can get the word out there. But at that point, it definitely becomes more important to get on shows and do everything.
I think that's a campaign killer. You know. For some of these campaigns.
For some people, it might be. Yeah, for some people, if you don't already have the built-in following where people are going to come back it anyway, regardless, it could very well be a campain killer.
Now, how many subscribers you have now, Joe, over there on your channel?
On my personal channel, I've got like 1,500 something.
Good.
I just crossed the 1,500
mark. Good for you.
Thank you. It's a slow burn. You know, I've got a very niche kind of channel.
Yeah, but you got a loyal following.
I do. I've got a great loyal following, you know, and you know, I've really built the channel around comic book art and comic book talk. I don't get into a lot of the culture war stuff because there's so many other people that do it better than me and have more time to actually focus in on it and talk about it. Right. So if you come to my channel,
you're a nerd.
I'm a comic book nerd. If you come to my channel,
man, talk about it. For 10 years, I'm a rocker. I'm cool.
Hey, I can be a rocker and a nerd at the same time. You know, it's
there. You go.
Two things can be true.
I have more than one hat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, as far as the growth has been slow, but I've appreciated everybody that comes out there, and I'm extremely happy with the way my channel is, and I'm gonna keep it the way it is because like I said, I got no real desire to do videos talking about the culture war stuff. Like I have opinions every once in a while. I'll get out there and say something, but it's not what I want to do on a regular
Do you
basis.
mind that because I know we're running low on time, but can I show you another campaign?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
And
bring up.
I think you'd appreciate the music. This is Vic's project, Bale War.
No.
It's going to be a 60-page sort of Conan swashbuckling adventure project. Let's play the trailer for you, Joe. Vic didn't know I was going to do this.
We will march into the night. Let the fear sink in their eyes. We will roar our battle cries. The oath we shall carry strong. Rally up the swords and shields. Fight into the bloodiest fields. For the honor high decree. The heavens is on our side. We will march into the night. Let the fear sink in their eyes. We will roar our battle cries. The oath we shall carry strong.
Only on Indiegogo.
Yeah, it's epic. It was like a damn near a music video.
Yeah, I'd tell it, dude, like 2 minutes long. But, you know, you can go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Maybe even a donut in that time, you know. It's good to take a bathroom break sometimes with that thing playing. Hope you enjoyed the music. I know you're a rocker. So.
That was good. Who did that? Was it just
that was Vic?
I didn't realize I was muted.
Yeah.
The front end, the acapella stuff is done by an indie metal artist named Peyton Parrish. He's on Indiegogo.
Okay.
The link for his YouTube is at the bottom of my page. He gave me permission to use. That's an acapella song called Battle Cries.
Okay.
He does Viking metal, so his stuff is like really cool. One of his songs is Valhalla Calling. It's being used by Assassin's Creed in their Viking game. So, that was awesome that he let me use it. Very nice guy.
Nice.
Now, I also want to play your trailer before you get out of here, okay?
Yeah, before you do, I see
whoops.
Genuine comics down there, so the trailer should be 90 seconds at most. It probably should be. The problem is when you're putting together a trailer, at least I do, I was enjoying it so much, and the music, I could not find a good break for the music, so I was like, screw it. We're going to go this a full minute and 30 seconds. So, yeah. Just make it cool. That's all. Yeah, that's the
Indiegogo.
abbreviated version too. Yeah, the original one is
Indiegogo,
like 2 minutes
man.
long.
Well, now, who did your music on that, Joe?
At the very beginning, that's my intro scream that I do.
Okay.
But I overlaid that with a stock metal riff that I found on one of the programs I used to edit. I was going to use one of our songs, but I just couldn't find something that actually went with the timing of the pictures, I guess. And I didn't want something that had like a bunch of vocals in it either. Yeah, I just kind of wanted the music. So,
Now, I wanted to ask you about the Indiegogo tip. What do you think about that? What are they doing with that?
I just, I didn't even know about it until somebody brought it up, and
Yeah.
I had to actually look in to see what it was. But it's another kind of an underhanded thing because I heard that tip doesn't even go to the creator; it just goes to Indiegogo. So you're saying like, here, back this campaign for all this money, and then by the way, tip us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, unlike
Exactly.
$150 package, it could be like $35 tip going to Indiegogo.
Yeah, yeah, like they got rid of it though, didn't they?
No.
No, it's still on there.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it was down for a couple
Okay,
days. I
'cause
know that.
backed a campaign not too long ago, and I didn't see a tip option.
Oh, is it? Maybe they did take it down.
Well, let's take a look. I'm going to look at your campaign here and
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, because I
let's
thought
see.
it got taken down or something happened because I didn't see it the last time I backed a campaign because I was specifically looking out so I didn't like screw myself over and not pay attention and like pay an extra $15 or whatever on the campaign.
Right.
But yeah,
So
it's
the destroyer tier, you get everything, right?
yes
In the campaign, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get everything, including the exclusive full foil ash can version of the ash can that we put out, which is it's gorgeous looking. Gorgeous looking. I think me and Mo Biggs are the only ones that have one in
Tip's
existence.
still there. If I bought that at $200, it'd add 30 to it.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's still there.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess just make sure you're aware of that and make that a 0, before you go. I think that's BS. A lot of stuff that Indiegogo is doing right now is just I don't understand. I don't understand it, which is why I'm excited for like what Mandy Summers is doing with her own website for launching her book, and after she runs that for like 60 days, then she'll do something on.
Is that the way though?
Indiegogo.
You have to have your own website. She has hers. Vic has hers. I have one. I mean, is that going to be the future?
I think it very well could be because what I like about that marketing strategy or whatever you want to call it, you can set up your website any way you want, including payments. So like in Mandy's, for instance, you can go there and just pay it up front what you want, or let's say you want to do the subscription tier, which is like a $200 subscription tier. You can opt to have that broke up into payments. Which to me, I think that's a brilliant move if you can do that, because then you can have people getting the biggest tier all the time and get everything that the campaign has to offer, and you can break that payment into 2, 4 payments, into 12 payments, however much is actually set up. And it allows, I think, customers to be able to actually get more of your campaign, because not everybody can afford those big tiers, and sometimes there's some really cool stuff in those tiers that people like me will miss out on because I can't just afford to drop $200. Maybe I can drop like $75 on a campaign, but like 200, that's a lot. So stuff like that I think is cool. She gets the profits. There's nobody taking out a percentage because they run the platform. So she's not getting screwed out of like $4,000 or $5,000 that you have to pay to Indiegogo. Or plus, so, and you don't get shadow banned. You don't get anybody controlling your campaign. So I think it's a good way to do that. Run that for 60 days and then jump into Indiegogo or jump into Kickstarter, and get those crowds as well. But you at least have a chunk of your campaign right off the bat with all the exclusives. That's all your stuff, and nobody can fuck with that.
I think no one can clone your campaign and put it. I assume, and put it over.
I would assume too. Yeah.
Or another platform.
I personally think that could be a way to go in the future, and I don't think it's all that much of a ask to have people go to a different platform than Indiegogo. Personally, that's just me. I mean, a lot of those things work through PayPal. So if you have PayPal, already established PayPal account, you can pay through that, which is a secure way. I know people have issues with PayPal because of the whole Eric July stuff as well, but I think there's ways that you can work around the shadow banning and stuff that we have to deal with right now on Indiegogo or anything you have to worry about on Kickstarter. Just utilize what's out there. That is what I say. Don't boycott Indiegogo because there's a lot of creators that are on Indiegogo still, but just utilize as a creator the best way you can to get the product out there to as many people and options as possible.
You would think that Indiegogo would overshadow. I know it's kind of like eBay when it comes to what they do. They've been a name brand for so long. Most people go there, and there are smaller platforms, but they're much, much smaller. So, I mean, Indiegogo may be giving Kickstarter a run for its money, but I mean, the way they do things over there, you don't know when the money's going to come out. There's people that can pledge to their campaign.
Yeah.
We were talking about that the other day. They may pledge, and it looks like you have reached your stretch goal, but if the money doesn't come in, it may, at the closing of the campaign, you may not have really reached your stretch goal. That's messed up to me, Joe.
Yeah.
The way that is set up. And
yeah.
I know like Billy Tucci and some others do both platforms. Of course, been doing it for years, but
I think right now, as a creator, especially creators that are doing this more for a living or just doing this on a regular basis and not just like a hobby for them. I think the idea, if you can get out there to as many people as possible, which includes having your own website store, as well as the Indiegogo platforms, Kickstarter, and just get it out as front of as many people as possible. I personally don't have a problem with that. I think it's probably a better way to go. Also, I think if somebody just wants to stick with Indiegogo, that's fine too. Like there's nothing to say that you are going to get shadow banned. Right now, I'm not shadow banned. It might happen in the future, and we have no idea why it's actually happening until I find or hear concrete evidence to why it's happening. I don't want to try to jump to a conclusion. I just know it is, and it's shitty. It sucks.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just browse a casual browser, find it. You can't do a search, even if somebody told me about Joe Sonntag's Reaper Destroyer. Look it up. You can't find it. You got to have a direct link. That's screwed up. That's potentially thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on the campaign.
Which is why I was saying, like with what Mandy's doing, you bypass all that, and it's secure. So I think,
but she's like in a position she can do that. A lot of these smaller creators are not.
That's true. Yep, that's true.
So
obviously,
it's kind of exclusive. So
I mean, it's exclusive to the point of what are you willing to put into, what are you willing to invest into your product to get it to where you want it. So I mean, smaller creators, you got to start somewhere. We can't all do what bigger creators do. But you can work your way up to it. You can find ways to invest into it, when it comes to creating a website, or you just, roll the dice and stay on Indiegogo, which again, I think I have not had any problems personally, so like I'm speaking from someone that says like, I would have no problem launching another campaign on Indiegogo if I had to, but if I have other options out there, especially when it comes to, keeping a good percentage of the money that Indiegogo or Kickstarter is going to take at the end of the campaign sounds pretty intriguing as a creator with all the money we already put into making our books, regardless of the funding. If I don't have to pay $5,000 to Indiegogo, that sounds good to me,
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of had to weigh options, right? Bigger platform, maybe it's worth 5,000 for the exposure. Maybe they made me that 5,000 or more. Hopefully, well, more.
Right. I think if you do that, I think that's awesome. Depending on how much you make, as opposed to how much they take from you. But I like what Mandy's doing right now. I'm interested to see how that pays off. Her site right now is looking good, and when she's going to throw it on Indiegogo, I'm interested to see how that does. And then just get the information from her after it's all said and done. Was it worth it? What was it? What did you see?
What were the pros and cons?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, she's right now kind of being the guinea pig and doing it herself. And more power to her, and I hope it works out in a big way.
And if it does, she started out with Wart the Wizard, just a small little, little book, and has grown and blossomed into this big channel. And It's great to see, and done multiple books. It's
Yeah,
great to see. It's a success
absolutely has
story
been.
that that
Yep,
that you're. I mean, selling directly to your customers is the way to go for sure. Uh,
absolutely. Yeah, I
Mandy's
think
very smart. Mandy's very smart. She's
he
very
is.
dedicated. She's worked very hard. Mandy was I was Mandy's first interview, and she was my first interview.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was great.
Yeah, I love
But
Andy. She's great.
yeah, that was the first. That was the first comic book that I did anything for. I was just doing fan arts at the time, and I did Wart the Wizard. I wound up doing two variant. Well, one was a cover and one was a poster. Yeah, so
Mm,
she kind of gave me a my kind of break in CG anyway. So
nice.
it was really fantastic. I
That's
love
awesome.
Mandy. Her success is so impressive, and it's so good to see. Like I look so I've done two books with other people, right? And
Okay.
they were smaller books. Um, Beowar was like this is my first time stepping out and doing my own stuff, and and so like I look and I try to learn from everybody that's doing things right, doing things, like I've looked at Reaper Destroyer and I'm like, okay, so now there's stuff I've taken from the way that you set up your campaign and everything. Like
Yeah.
once Beowar is done, I'm going right into Alizon, which is my next book,
Oh,
which
nice.
is a co-creation with Ali Sanguis, um, and she's going to write it, and I'm going to draw it. But yeah, I have a much better sense of how I need to structure my own campaign page. Just from watching like the success of Reaper Destroyer and Mandy and several people out there. I mean, it's great. I think that's what I love about this independent comic community is that not only are people willing to reach out and help you, right? But
Yeah,
there are people at different levels of success and skills that they've brought to what they're doing that you can learn from,
for
you
sure.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And what I like about it is, I can meet you, Joe. I can meet Vic, and Vic and I have worked a lot. He's worked a lot on my Universal characters and developed a lot of my interconnecting universe, and worked on a book. And uh, man, I need a color job, or I need a letterer, I need an artist to do. I need this one trading card, or
Right.
and you can ask around. Shelby's going to do a trading card for me. I'm excited
Nice.
about that. Um, I just have to get him the reference, and he'll be on that. He was on here the other day, and it's. I would have never met Shelby, without CG,
Right.
or you, or Vic, or anyone. I mean,
Hmm.
Tank Ferret's out in the chat, and on his channel, I met Vic, and then Vic, I subscribed to Vic from there off of his channel, and then went over when he was streaming. Who knew he streamed so much? And then I said, "Man, that's a dope piece you got there on Beowar. Can I buy it?" And he says, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Would you do me a Devil Flyer?" And yeah, and then he wound up that same night doing me 3 different pieces,
Nice.
and then from there on, he's done me about 35, 40 pieces now. So we're really working hard on stuff to build not only Beowar, but my Momentum universe. So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's just been a great community. If you need a letterer, if you need an artist, an inker, a trailer made, um, it's been a great talent pool.
It really is. It really is. Like, there's a lot of talented people within this Comicsgate community, whatever you want to call it, in all different aspects. So I mean, that's really cool. You need something, you just reach out. Someone's going to have the ability to figure it out. So that's pretty cool.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate your time. I know we've ran over a little bit, but
Oh, definitely appreciate you having me.
I just you appreciate having me. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Joe. I really do. I wanted to get you on, when the campaign was active, as you know, and you said I
Yeah.
think maybe in July, and just hadn't got back with you, but glad to finally have you on and get to talk to you for a while again, and you know, have your ear for about for a good hour.
Yeah, I
It's been a
appreciate
lot
it.
of
It was fun.
been a lot of
Good
fun.
time.
Yeah, your character. I see only good things. I hope Reaper #2 is that your next project after this is fulfilled?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna keep on doing this book for a while and try to expand my shared universe, but that'll be with other creators coming on
Right.
to do some of my other products. But I plan on doing Reaper Destroyer myself for the foreseeable future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, with such a success, why not follow it up with another one? I You might even hit that 6-figure mark, Joe.
maybe.
Yeah. Now
Got a
that'd be
ways to
life
go. Got a
changing,
ways
huh?
to go. But
Yeah.
maybe in the future, one
Put
day.
that put that child through college, huh?
That would be awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you tell your lovely wife thank you for your time, because your time and your health is probably your most valuable thing on
Oh, I
this earth.
agree.
So I
I
appreciate
will.
you sharing your time with us today.
Well,
I'm
I
not trying to
appreciate it.
run you off. Hey, we got Phil Diaz from
Hell,
Raid
Phil.
Comics come sliding in here. He's playing pinball right now.
Probably, most likely.
Yeah, him and his brother. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Are we ending the show or am I just jumping off?
No, we're doing whatever you want, brother. We're here for as long as you have. But I did want to get that in there. That yeah, we can end the show.
Well, I was just gonna say, don't end it on my account because I know I had to get out of here
Yeah,
so I can go pick up my daughter. But like,
yeah, yeah. Well, I and Vic are streaming Madman. We
yeah, all the
a
time.
couple weeks ago we did I did a 30-hour stream, and then the very next day we did a 16. So
Holy shit,
we're crazy. I think it
that
got
is
both
crazy.
our
That's
health
insane.
down. It,
That's insane.
it is insane. But now that I'm not working, I have more time.
There
So,
you go.
and
That's true. I'll
we
probably get
wanted
that
to
too
push
then.
Bail War and get it funded, and fortunately we got it funded. And
Yeah.
the very last night, Vic went on
Awesome.
Michael
Congratulations.
Bancroft's, and he could just relax because it was already funded.
Yeah,
That's great.
that was nice that I could go into. I thought Bancroft's was going to be, that was my closing night. I thought that was going to be like, that was going to be the breaking point, that
Yeah.
that I needed, but no, I funded like 4 days before, so I was able to just
Nice.
relax and you know, um, so yeah, but now I gotta get back on the horse and push the book,
Yeah.
in
Yeah. It's a
demand, and
never-ending thing.
yeah,
What now? There's one thing. Jim Cox. You might know Jim Cox from your chat.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
He said. Now I don't think you have a problem because you said you had 32 pages and your stuff looks so awesome.
Mm.
But he tweeted out months ago. I remember this. That for the premium that you're paying for a comic, because it is a premium, right? It's a
Mhm.
luxury. Pretty good price. I don't know if you charge $25 for your book.
I do.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we didn't look much more than that. But
No, you're fine. Yep.
he says, I think
Standard
for that
25.
price, I'm not going to back any more than that's not at least 48 pages. And it could be
Mhm.
because he got some that were less quality. I don't know, but 48 pages seems to be standard for some people. But I know on mine's grown.
Yeah.
I was going for 48, but I can't pack in everything I want in just 48. So it's probably going to only go to 62 or something,
Right.
it's, and that's okay for a first issue to have a larger first issue, because that's often happened with Marvel, right? You'd have a bigger first issue and then it would go back down to standard size for the
Yeah.
second issue. But you think 32 pages is kind of the sweet spot, kind of like your floppy size?
Yeah. I mean, my book is a floppy book. I'm making a comic book, not a
Mhm.
graphic novel. If I can increase it to 40ish kind of pages, I will. I definitely want to keep it the feel of what I'm going for, you know. And I certainly understand people like Jim or anybody out there that don't want to pay the $25 for anything less than 48 pages, and that's fine. You know, it's
Right.
the customer's ability to spend their money on what they absolutely want, but you know, it's also my ability to put out the book for the standard of whatever it
Now,
is. You
where
know,
is Reaper? I set my character in Chicago. Of course, I have more characters. It's sort of a continuum with six
yeah.
different stories, not just Devil Flyer, but I set it in Chicago. What kind of world is your character set in?
My character's in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, New York City. It's a obviously fictionalized version of New York.
Right.
A
Right.
little bit more technologically driven in the storylines and a little bit in the not too distant future. But I just always
Okay.
like, I mean, again, I grew up in the '90s, so every superhero or every comic I read was in New York. You
Well, it's
know,
in New York. So
yeah. So it's just like
you were primarily a Marvel guy then.
early on, yeah, until Image hit, and then I was pretty much a straight Image guy. But even Spawn
Yeah.
was in New York. You know,
It's
and I
it's
can't remember
wild
what the
that
Darkness was. I think
it's
Darkness was in
wild
New
that
York too.
DC has like made up cities like Gotham and Metropolis.
Yeah.
But Marvel, had New York, Chicago, LA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made more sense for me to put the character in an actual city because I think DC kind of their made up city is as good for them. You know, their
Yeah.
lore, everything, it just works. But I thought it made sense for like Marvel and any other kind of book that was out there that put the characters in real cities. I just thought it made more sense, you know. So yeah, my character primarily is in New York City and different dimensions.
Are you going to leave it on a cliffhanger?
Yeah, my story is it's an ongoing story. So the first story arc is the first 4 issues of the series, and it's gonna making this a book, a long run, an ongoing series. So it will be a cliffhanger or sorts because of any comic you always want to leave it wanting the customer to buy the next one. You set up the next issue in that issue, So all of my comics will be like that until the storyline is complete, and then you start a brand new storyline with issue 5. So. Yeah, there will absolutely be a cliffhanger of sorts with Reaper Destroyer 1.
Now, are you thinking down the line of maybe compiling everything into a trade paperback once the issues are done?
Oh yeah, I think after you get the first 4 issues done, I'll probably do a trade of it or something to collect all the stories as one full book.
That'll be a pretty thick trade paperback.
Yeah, it probably would be.
Yeah,
probably would be.
But
yeah, it's just
an issue.
I've always wanted to make comics, and that's what I'm doing. I'm putting out comic books, and I'm up front with that on the campaign. I let everybody know it's a floppy. This is this many pages. It might be more by the time I'm done with it, but it's going to be at least 32 pages because I'm here to make comic books, not trades or not graphic novels. So I try to put out the best quality I can, the most professional looking book that I can absolutely do, and I think it's worth the $25 for the book, considering how much the book costs to make. Which
Definitely.
is not expensive or not cheap at all. It's very expensive.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean it's not necessarily the printing cost, but it's it's I know you're doing the artwork, right? Are you doing the inks as well?
No, I'm working with Matt Batbani and Joe Weems are doing the inks right now, and I'm also talking with another inker to come on and help out with the workload because those guys are working in the industry. They're professional workers in the industry. They've also got all the stuff that they do, so they've got a pretty big workload. So, I've got professional guys working on the inks, and obviously Kyle's doing the colors. He's a professional colorist. So everything in the book is professional except for me. I'm the only non-professional as far as experience in the industry that's on the book. But yeah, that costs money to have that kind of talent. But again, you're trying to put out the best looking book you can. Like my whole idea is to put out a book that's going to be a book that would rival something that's on the shelves.
Well, you did a major score. You did a major score with Kyle.
Yeah, I'm very, very fortunate to have Kyle doing.
Yeah,
hands down. He's
he's
my secret weapon.
He might be like the greatest. He might be the current greatest colorist out there.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love his stuff.
Yeah, I show a lot of my collectibles, and I was surprised to find that I had some of his Marvel stuff, or well, it might not have been Marvel, it might have been Image. I can't remember, but he had his name on the cover. I was like, wow, at the time I bought the book, I didn't realize who Kyle was, but now through
Right.
CG, I do.
Yeah.
With a beard like this and mustache, I could sell chicken. Have you seen the zombie chicken for the KFC
I
zombie? You haven't?
I don't know. I don't think I
It's
have.
pretty freaky.
Yeah, I'll check it out
Vic,
sometime.
I think Vic showed that to me, and the chicken's moving on the plate. It's like
like a real zombie chicken. If
real
you, like, cut
zombie
it
zombie
pieces.
chicken.
chicken.
Yeah,
Oh, like the actual. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
just the
That's
pieces.
fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those pieces moving on their own. It's pretty freaky.
Yeah,
That's it. Never eating chicken again.
yeah, I
Not
know.
fried chicken.
I kind of got mad about it. I'm like, really? They're gonna mess with KFC's business? I like KFC. But I sure don't want to go get any zombie chicken that's still moving.
Yeah, no, hell no. Hell no.
Their gravy is the bomb. What's your favorite fast food? Your go-to? Pizza?
Pizza. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza.
Yeah. What do you like on your pizza?
Pepperoni.
Yeah.
Just pepperoni. I'm good.
Well,
You are
blue. You are blue collar. I'm redneck, but
I mean, I could do like a supreme pizza and vegetables and stuff like that. I have no problem eating that. That stuff is good. But if it was just very simple, pepperoni.
They brought that over from Sicily, and they worked in the factories, right? Like Detroit and places like that, the car places. And they would make up a little pizza, and the workers would put it on radiators while they worked, and it would slowly cook the pizza. And then when break time came, they would have a hot pizza. And that's how pizza kind of got started in America.
Interesting. Sounds interesting.
The factory workers. They brought them over from Italy.
God bless them, because God bless them,
because it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, do you like thick crust or stuffed crust or thin crust or
I'm not a big fan of
Chicago style or New York or what?
I'm actually not a fan of the Chicago style. It's a little too thick and just I don't know. But I like New Yorker pizza. The times I've been on tour in New York, they've got some fantastic pizza out there. Thin crust, regular crust, hand tossed, pan, all that stuff is good. Like it's all good.
And a good movie and a good hug from the wife, and you're good, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not little Caesar Detroit style pizza.
Hey, I like Little Caesars, man.
Yeah,
I'm down with some Little Caesars. Yeah, like I'm one of the few people that actually likes Little Caesars.
Yeah.
I still do to this day.
I'll eat Little Caesars.
Yeah, it's good cheap pizza.
I like their square stuff the best because they put the olive oil on the crust, so it crisps.
Yeah, crisps up a little bit.
When the Batman movie came out, they had a bat pizza.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, I'm not getting that. Give me a full pizza.
That's a gimmick.
Yeah.
Oh
shit! It's almost 4:30. I gotta get out of here, guys.
All right,
Joe.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Hail the chat.
We'll wait for the Reaper Destroyer action figure.
Yeah, one of these days, right?
One of these days.
Hopefully.
Thank you again for your time, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the chat. I'll talk to y'all later.
Take care. Bye. Well, that went good, Vic. I think.
Yeah. Great guy. Great, fantastic guy.
Yeah. Great chat today. We've got like 16 people watching now.
I'm not sure if you stating that no one's eaten me in a while was the chat you wanted me to read, Hen.
Hey, it could happen, well, I mean, her starring in her own comic, not what you said. So are you dusting off on Green Lantern and Wonder Woman? What was your inspiration to do that? Are you thinking of selling these on auction or for some people or what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just I was having a draw stream earlier.
Yeah.
And let's see. Nasser, I was started drawing the Green Lantern, and then Nasser commissioned me to do this Chomper.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I did this Chomper.
I knew
for
that
him,
was his character. Yeah.
you know.
What's he going to do with that? Do you know? Is that going to be a trading card or what?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, it looks dope. Yeah.
No, Cooley just said, "Hey, draw a Chomper."
Yeah.
And I started drawing it. He said, I'll buy this. I'll buy this one." He said, "So
Cool.
he liked it." So
Yeah.
and then we finished Hal Jordan.
Yeah. Very nice.
This one is for sale for $40.
Right.
And then I
Okay.
started sketching this out
Yeah.
before my stream ended. And
Yeah, I got a lot done on it. Now inking it.
yep, and this one will be $40 as well.
Cool.
You know,
You're gonna
inexpensive pieces of
You're
art.
you're gonna come back in about 30 minutes for the 4 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, sure. You're gonna end the stream and start back up.
Yeah, I mean, I like to. Yeah, I've already got
Yeah,
the
go
4
get-
o'clock shadow set up. So,
All right.
if anybody wants to come back in 30 minutes and for the 4 o'clock shadow, we'll be here for a while. But I appreciate everybody coming in for this stream, and I think that was a great interview for Joe Sonntag. Got him for more than an hour.
I know you got them for longer than you thought you'd have them. Yeah.
That's by design. You keep them talking.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
tell.
You
I
ask
could
the right
tell him.
questions.
Oh my God, no.
And when he really has to go, he'll tell you, right?
Right.
But I got my pizza questions in. Yeah. No, I hope people got something out of that. I always like to, smash that like button for sure. Hit that
Definitely.
bell and receive all notifications, as Tank says. See you soon, Rex. Amen. I'll send you the link, Fanta, if I hadn't already. We'll shut it down for just a little bit. Take a break. I'll get a refresher on a drink. Let Abby out again, maybe.
Sounds good.
And we'll be back here in about 30. So we'll see you soon.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Hell the Chad, Hell CG, Hell Reaper Destroyer, and Mighty Joe M. Sonntag, if I can get it out. And keep collecting.